Hey, this is Cale Clark with the Faith Explained Institute, thefaithexplained.com, with part two of our series called Easter Evidence. And during this octave of Easter, I'm looking at key pieces of evidence which are really minimal facts that all scholars, virtually all scholars, agree upon, whether they're believers or not, about the events surrounding Easter. We put them all together, we make a good case for the resurrection. The second fact is the testimony of women. One of the reasons we know that the apostles did not fabricate the Easter account is this. If they were trying to invent a story to convince their fellow Jews that Jesus was the Messiah risen from the dead, they wouldn't have started with this, that women were the first persons to discover the empty tomb of Christ and to encounter him resurrected in the flesh. All four Gospels, including the reading from today's Mass Gospel, John chapter 20, present Mary Magdalene as the first person to proclaim to the apostles that Jesus has risen. That's why she's called the apostle to the apostles. And why is this a problem in the first century? It's because, unfortunately, at that time, a woman's testimony was worth nothing in a Jewish court of law. Consider these examples from the rabbis to give you some idea of the thought process. Here's what the Talmud says. Sooner let the words of the law be burnt than delivered into the hands of women. Ouch, that's pretty harsh. And what about Josephus, the great Jewish historian? He says this, let not the testimony of women be admitted on account of the levity and boldness of their sex, since it is probable that they may not speak truth, either out of hope of gain or fear of punishment. Again, that's pretty biased, isn't it? But yet that was the thought process at the time. And one more from the Talmud. Any evidence which a woman gives is not valid to offer. This is equivalent to saying that one who is accounted to be a robber is qualified to give the same evidence as a woman. So basically he's saying a woman's testimony is about as good as that of a thief. Okay, so in this milieu, in this sort of thought process that was going on at the time, there is no way you're going to say that women were the first to encounter the risen Christ. If you're making up a story, you would have Peter or John, who's known to the high priest, or a big shot like Nicodemus, discover the empty tomb if you're fabricating the story. But that's not what they did. They said that women were the ones who discovered the empty tomb and encountered Christ. You simply wouldn't do that unless it was actually the case. Greg Minette has suggested that when you read the letters of St. Paul, like 1 Corinthians 15, when he goes through his list of all the people that Jesus appeared to after the resurrection, he omits the women from his list. Maybe he's kind of trying to airbrush them out of his account. If Paul's a Pharisee, maybe he's trying to make it more palatable. We don't know. We simply don't know. But we do know this. The Catholic Church has done tons since then to promote the dignity of women, thankfully, and their rights. But we can say this with great certainty. There's no way they would have promoted this story unless that's the way things actually unfolded. For the Faith Explained Institute, this is Cale Clark.